Who decides justice? A death sentence in absentia, or a mother's grief in court? Mia brings victims history and pain. Leo demands the forensic receipts. Tonight we unpack the verdict, the contested process, and the geopolitics that could reshape a nation. Tonight, a country celebrates and cedes. A former prime minister is sentenced to die, while from exile she calls it a political charade. Official justice versus public trauma. That is the fault line we are walking.
Look, the uprising began with students in July, but it became a reckoning. Families say live fire, torture, targeted killings. The UN counted about 1,400 dead, possibly crimes against humanity. That scale demands real accountability.
And real skepticism. We also saw arson, crude bombs, trains torched, order collapsed. Media framed one side as monsters and the other as saints. I want receipts, not slogans, from every camp that touched this fire.
Timeline first. In July 2024, protests over a job quota grew into a nationwide revolt against Sheikh Hasina's 15-year rule. By early August, she fled to India. 3 days later, Mohammed Yunus took charge of an interim government. That government banned the Awami League, arrested or chased out leaders, appointed prosecutors, and ran a months-long, widely broadcast trial at the International Crimes Tribunal in Dhaka. On Monday, November 17th, a 3-judge bench found Hasina guilty in absentia of incitement, ordering killings, and failing to prevent atrocities, and issued a death sentence. The former police chief pleaded guilty and turned state witness.
Inside court, the tone was telling. The bench thanked investigators, journalists, even victims who, in their words, lost eyes, skulls, noses, hands, legs. That is not theater. Those bodies are evidence, and their courage carried the case forward. The judges also cited the UN report on leaders authorizing lethal force. And they said, quote, "We have decided to inflict only one sentence of death." They referenced drones, helicopters, lethal weapons ordered against protesters.
Hold on. They also praised a state defense lawyer for doing, quote, the exact role he was supposed to. Proceedings were broadcast. That is not a secret tribunal. If you want transparency, cameras in court are a decent start.
Yet fairness is contested. Hasina, age 78, denies wrongdoing, calls it politically motivated, says she lacked a fair chance, and wants a proper tribunal. Rights groups have long flagged due process issues with this court's design. Even the UN called this an important moment for victims, but opposed the death penalty and urged international standards. Prosecutors, for their part, painted Hasina as mastermind and explicitly sought the ultimate punishment.
Accountability cannot be vengeance. I oppose capital punishment. But I also hear the father in court saying a death sentence was the only acceptable verdict. That grief comes from a state unleashing live rounds on civilians. That system must be rebuilt.
Rebuilt, yes, not replaced by victor's justice. Banning a party, mass arrests, and a shoot-on-sight order for bombers? That is a lot of power in interim hands. If they punish the old sins but excuse new ones, the cycle is just wearing a new jersey.
Numbers are also disputed. The UN count cites about 1,400 dead. Interim figures elsewhere say more than 800 and around 14,000 injured. Hasina wants an independent probe. That contradiction matters.
And the evidence chain matters. We heard of leaked audio played in court, orders for lethal force, a police chief turning witness for leniency. Those deals can reveal command responsibility or contaminate the record if not tested robustly.
Personal responsibility cuts both ways. If leaders ordered crackdowns, charge them. If cadres torched buses and planted bombs, charge them too. Transparent trials, not street punishments, are how you break the habit of impunity.
One more practical twist. Bangladesh asked India to extradite Hasina. New Delhi shows no sign of complying. So the sentence sits in a legal theater while the defendant lives under foreign protection. Justice and geopolitics rarely move in sync.
If elections and a referendum arrive in February, legitimacy will hinge on whether victims see truth and reparations, not just verdicts. Without that, unrest will keep boiling, whatever name the government goes by.
And the press must cover all sides with the same heat. Cheerleading a sentence while minimizing due process flaws or street violence is how you set up the next shock. Sunlight, not spin, lowers the temperature.
Next, we will test the evidence aired in court, the leniency deals, and the broadcast record against international standards, and ask whether India's stance could change the calculus. Stay with us. The story is still being written.